Hi guys, how you doing? I'm back today to talk about a couple of things. The subject is weight loss, of course. That's what I want to focus on today. I have, I'm pleased to say, a number of new subscribers, and to those folks, if you haven't watched my weight loss journey playlist, you're welcome to do so. In that playlist of 5 or 6 videos, I outline in detail how I went from a morbidly obese 350 plus pound guy to a current weight of 170 pounds. And I did that in less than a year. Today, I just want to emphasize 2 bullet points. I'm calling them the keys to unlocking weight loss. And they were key for me. I struggled, as I know many people do, with obesity for all my life, all my adult life, really. And until I found these 2 keys, my life changed completely once I did. So let's talk about them. The first key, I mean, the keys are what to eat and when to eat. And so let's take them separately. What to eat. Uh, I look at it 2 ways, what to eat and what not to eat. And it might be easier just to say what not to eat. There's 2 things that I think really cause so much trouble for many people, myself included, in terms of unhealthy lifestyle. Uh, and it's basically our addiction to sugar and to what I call industrial seed oils. And sugar is, I recommend to anybody, uh, you got to find a way to get off the sugar addiction. I've never been the same since I've been able to kick my sugar addiction. I used to be a big Coke drinker and sugary foods, uh, fruit juices, things like that. And now it's just really almost a non-existent part of my diet. Um, I mean, sugar is everywhere in drinks in many different forms, and I'm gonna put up a summary of different names for sugar. Now, when I talk about kicking the sugar habit, to me that means uh, kicking the habit of desiring or craving a sweet sensation. Now, that's natural sugars or artificial sweeteners also. I'm not a believer in artificial sweeteners. I mean, if you believe that calories are really important, then go for it. But because they will help you eliminate calories, but your brain will still think it's craving something sweet. It'll still be longing for something sweet. And the artificial route is just something I do not recommend. Uh, it's a crutch, and you're far better off just uh, getting away from sugar and the sensation of wanting something sweet in general. Once you do, it's so liberating. It's so satisfying, and breaking that habit. I say that's fundamentally the best thing I've ever done in terms of diet is breaking my sugar habit. Um, the other one in terms of what not to eat are the what I call industrial seed oils. These are, and I'll put up a list of them. These are all, they might be called vegetable oils, but really vegetables don't have oils. They come in seeds. And these oils are are dangerous. They're unstable. Uh, they break down at room temperature. And in your body, they break down. They are very unnatural. If you, I will link to a few references on seed oils in the description. you can do a little research on your own and look at the manufacturing processes that are used to make these oils. It'll curl your hair, believe me. Um, these oils, and we're talking about it's soybean oil, canola oil, all margarines, sunflower oil, um, safflower oil. There's a number of them. These are high in the omega 6, and these oils are linked to many diseases of civilization, such as cancer. And I can't recommend highly enough to just kick them out of your diet also. Now, it's easy to do so because, frankly, sugar and these oils, they're almost unavoidable and they're almost in every product. And in fact, if you go in the grocery store through the center aisles and just read labels, it's hard to find a single package that doesn't have sugar of some form and industrial oils of some form, industrial seed oils of some form, or both, typically both. Um, these are the favorite combinations for the food industry. They're cheap, and that's why they're used. They're not used for your health, believe me. So, in terms of what not to eat, it's also pretty much I've just given the next clue is avoid the center of the market, all of those aisles, because there's really practically nothing in there in a package with a label of ingredients that's a healthy food. So what can you eat? What should you eat? The periphery of the store is a pretty safe place, uh, and this is, a lot of people will say this, but it's the truth. If you go around the outside of the store, you got your fruit and vegetable are on the side. Normally, then you get the meat counter, deli, cheese, and you go into the dairy. Um, all around the periphery. This is where you want to get your food. Uh, Other than in dairy now, stay away from the margarine. Like I said, that's just a mess. Stick with real butter. There's nothing wrong with saturated fat. It's a complete nonsense that saturated fat is clogging your arteries or going to give you a heart attack. That was all just unfounded science, and don't take my word for it. It's proven. So, this is what I did. I ate food from the perimeter of the store, foods that came directly from a plant or an animal, with minimal or no processing. So that is the first key, what to eat. And now if we move on and talk about when to eat, this is also very important, especially for somebody looking to lose a whole lot of weight like I was, and like many people do. Uh, do it in combination, what to eat and when to eat it. Now, when I say when to eat, what I'm talking about is meal frequency, eating less often. Um, there's no reason that we need to eat 3 or more times a day and have snacks. Uh, what this does is it keeps us perpetually in a fed state. Now, what I mean by that is our bodies, when we ingest food, and I'm just going to go into uh, a brief description of this, and I'll put a couple links that have a detailed description of what our bodies do when we have food in them and when we don't have food in them. You can dig into that stuff and get the details. But just suffice to say that when we ingest food, our body starts to, digest the food and then has to deal with the food. Uh, um, it has to distribute it. And I call this is a time of storage. Uh, Insulin is released and it starts to activate storage of energy, storage of fat. it puts the energy into our muscles, into the liver, it and also into our fat cells, into our and we have the humans have a great capacity to store fat. There's plenty of places that can put fat all through your body. So when you eat, this is what happens. Now, there is another whole process, which is kind of the reverse process, and that process is to burn fat, to use fuel that we've stored. Uh, the problem is that process really doesn't begin in earnest until, from what they say, about 10 to 12 hours after the last meal. Well, for most people, they barely get to that point. Let's say if you go to bed at 10 o'clock, you wake up at 8 a.m. and you start eating. Well, that's not even 12 hours, that's 10 hours. And most people start in with breakfast. So you really didn't get into the fasted state, into any fat burning. So this is where comes into play the idea of time restricted eating, to get into a fasted state, deeper into a fasted state. Extend your overnight fast from sleeping and just skip breakfast and go to lunch and then maybe go further or go mid-afternoon or close your eating window, the number of hours per day that you actually eat. Because if you can get into the fat burning, and the process is run in reverse, your body's perfectly capable of using the energy stored in your muscles and stored in your fat cells and running all operations, including your brain and normal functions. If you never get into that state, how are you going to lose weight? Uh, Other than, just water weight or this or that. Um, it's kind of an illusion. To really lose weight on a sustained basis, you've got to extend the fasted state. Most people, because you never reach it. So when to eat, for me, that meant eating once a day. And I did that, as I've mentioned many times. Um, I started that at the same time I changed my diet, and the weight just literally melted off me. So uh, I emphasize these two keys because since it was October of 2016, I made that change, and I've never been the same since then. Weight just literally melted off of me for 9 or 10 months, um, and and I became a different person. And now it's also my feeling that these two keys work together. Um, if you're eating good food, satisfying food, food, like I said, from plants or animals, and you're eating once a day, eating sufficient amount of food to feel full, feel satisfied, uh, it will sustain you uh, for a longer period eating this type of food. Um, and it will help you to extend that fasted state. That's what I found. I mean, if you're eating the sugary junk foods and really high, high carbs, it's hard to extend the fasted state because uh, carbs they demand a lot of refeeding. Every few hours you start to you have a crash, and your body says we need more. It's sort of like uh, burning carbs is sort of like burning sugar. It's like trying to heat your home with a fireplace using newspaper. It burns real fast and ignites real fast, but it burns out in a minute. So you have to keep stuffing huge amounts of newspaper in there. Uh, Whereas if you're burning food like meats or animal products, this is a much more satisfying food. It stays with you a long time. It's like putting in a big log in the fireplace. It will burn for hours and hours and hours. So this is the analogy. Um, so they do kind of go hand in hand, I believe. I was able to transition real easily uh, into this mode. Now it might be difficult for some people. It kind of depends on what diet you're coming from. Uh, you know, if you may have trouble making the transition, but I just say stick it out. Uh, it'll be well worth your time. Um, and once you get where you can eat once a day and you're eating good whole natural foods, unprocessed foods, and you kick your sugar habit, boy, things are going to look up for you. And you know, there's other components. Obviously, I've mentioned them previously. Exercise. Um, I did some extended fasts. There's other ingredients to the whole picture of weight loss, of course, but different people might emphasize those or they may not. But the what and when to eat, from my perspective, is like 70 or 80% of the battle is right there. And the rest is just like extra. Yeah, so one of the big problems with sugar and foods containing a lot of sugar is that it doesn't send a hunger or a fullness signal, uh, or a weak one, or it doesn't send anything at all. You know, junk food, you can take a giant bag of Tostitos and a 2 liter of Coca-Cola and just keep working on that, uh, uh, and you'll never get a feeling that, oh, I'm full. You might feel that you might have a sensation that you've eaten a lot, but you'll still be hungry. You might stop, but then an hour later you'll want to eat. So it messes up with the eating too much of this kind of food and staying constantly in a fasted state, or excuse me, in a fed state. It doesn't allow the body to do proper signaling uh, between hungry and full. If you need to cycle cleanly back and forth from one mode to another in order to have proper signaling. And that's what I found is that once I made these two changes and started paying attention, there really was a clear moment during my meal where I said, okay, I'm full. You know, I started to get that signal pretty clearly. Uh, so the signaling was functioning again. Again, your body knows what to do. It's got fantastically complex way to regulate all functions. You just have to allow it to do so and listen to it and give it good fuel, and the rest will just kind of take care of itself. Yeah, and I would just like to also make clear, uh, if you've watched my other videos, you'll remember that currently I've changed my diet again. I'm now on a carnivore diet and I eat almost exclusively meat and some eggs. Um, and I'm not doing this now. I didn't arrive here with a weight loss goal. I had already lost my weight when I decided to go into this carnivore diet. So that wasn't a weight loss decision, although I think I could have lost a significant amount of weight or lost the same amount of weight um, that I did using the uh, the vegetables and some fruit and kind of a more balanced diet. So I just want to be clear, um, where I'm at now and where I was. I mean, I think you can get to the same place either way. Um, some people do better. Some people handle the plant food better than others, uh, and I'm a kind of person that can go either way. A lot of it doesn't bother me at all. I just like where I'm at now with my carnivore diet. it's I feel better than I did when I had to plant food. But certainly, there's nothing wrong if you're healthy and can tolerate to plant food. Um, you can lose a lot of weight on it. It's a lot better than eating from that packaged food with the high sugar and the industrial seed oils and the junk in the center aisles of the store. Um, Especially if you choose the type of foods, the non-starchy vegetables. That's fine. You can lose a lot of weight um, with that kind of a diet. So that pretty much that's all I had for today. Um, I'll close just by saying I continue to be amazed at the number of good comments, positive comments, and new subscribers that I'm getting on this channel. It is way more than I expected. Um, and I'm seeing lately a lot of people claiming to be motivated and inspired and trying, some of this stuff, one meal a day or different dietary approaches that I've outlined. That's phenomenal. I wish you all the success in the world. And that's the purpose. The reason I started this channel is to share what I'm doing, to interact with people and inspire. So that's all great. Um, and so if anybody has questions, I'm open to answer questions on whatever about this. If I've missed something or if you got specific questions about your situation, fire away in the comments. Again, today check out in the description. I'm going to put several links in there for further study on what and when to eat. And that's about it. Thanks again for watching and subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate it, folks. See you next time.